Welcome to TV9 Digital. This is Obijit and we are here to review a book very intriguingly titled Gangster State, The Rise and Fall of the CPM in West Bengal. With me is the author of the book, Shourjo Bhaumik, a journalist with the TV9 network. Shourjo, welcome to the show. Now, the first inevitable question, you see the role of the left in West Bengal is extremely debatable in Bengal. I mean, it's very widely and intensely debated in all circles of the state. When it came, it ended a period of intense chaos of the 60s and 70s and ushered in a relative peace and calm in society. It pushed through a program of land reforms in the state. Your book is very interesting. It, as far as I understood, it has dwelt on the last few years of the CPM or its decline. So what really are the contents? What have you dwelt on in this book?
So the first thing, when I grew up in the 90s, left, I mean, it was a total hegemony of the left in West Bengal. And the point is, like, growing up, I could see, I mean, the party, I mean, what many scholars described as like party society. I mean, party was controlling everything. I mean, whether it was your domestic dispute between husband and wife, whether it was a land deal between like a landlord and tenant, they were getting involved in everything. Left, I mean, they symbolize the hegemonic power. So a lot of people who were there, I mean, their base was not ideology. Their base was that power. And as you know, I mean, there is a theory in political science that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so this is, I mean, this was, I mean, there was the problem was existing in the party, but they never realized it because they were winning after, I mean, elections after elections. And sometimes, as a lot of people say, I mean, obviously they were getting people's support, but at the same time, there were like electoral machinations involved, which West Bengal is known for that. So growing up, I remember when I was in Presidency College, I was a part of the left. And later, after say 2011-12, I was an outsider. Then I started reflecting, introspecting. And this led me to write this book. And the point is, introspection is something which the left, the CPIM lacks. I mean, even today, if you see, there is criticism. I mean, if someone criticizes, I mean, he is censured and things like that. Senior leaders, they also need to read the book. I mean, they need to understand what went wrong. I mean, now they are zero. Completely zero, and as a lot of people are saying, I mean, there is no hope of a resurgence in the left. So this is what I kind of led me to write the book, because left at the end of the day is also needed in, I mean, in India, because at the end of the day, they are the people who are talking about, say, pensions, farmers, and minimum wage, all these kind of things. They are the party which talks most vociferously about that.
I find a few of the chapters very, very interestingly titled. It refers to the, let me see here, the topography of fear. Very interesting how fear was used as a surreptitious weapon. And also, you have referred to the art of rigging, which we all once, discussed vociferously in the media and even in the outside circles. Now tell me something. This element of fear, I want you to, speak about this element of fear and this art of rigging, because these two are the instruments through which one would expect that the CPM really, prolonged its rule for all these years.
So one thing, I mean, in college elections, if you remember, in the early 2000s and late 1990s, I mean, CPIM, its student organization, the Students' Federation of India, it was winning uncontested. Like, probably they were like, I remember some stats which the leaders of that time used to tom-tom a lot, like 412 colleges, and we are in power in, like, say, 309. So, and I mean, everything was uncontested. And even in college elections, I mean, the use of outside forces, zonal committee leaders getting involved, district leaders getting involved, all came down to that, I mean, how do I say, that addiction of power, showing more power, that we are powerful and we are winning, we will win, you can't do anything. That's the kind of psychology that that used to work.
Yeah, and very closely contested.
And if you remember the 1990 municipal election, it was mayhem on the roads. In central Calcutta, I mean, you will get newspapers showing pictures, people brandishing their pistols and running around. And that's, I mean, they were desperate for power, more power. And even if you come back to this age, if you will see a lot of left supporters in this age of social media, when they lose election, I have observed the way they talk as if it's the people's fault that they couldn't realize that CPIM is probably the best party in the world, and they have made the mistake by not voting them. So that's a moral high ground that they take. I mean, they still can't digest the fact that they are not in power. And the result is people are rejecting them election after election, and I mean every election their vote share and everything is going down.
Perhaps on a macro scale, there were perhaps two elements that led to the decline or the rout of the left in Bengal, or perhaps in the country. One is that the cardinal mistake of withdrawing support from the UPA government, one. The second, which is more obvious to the people of Bengal, is that the industrialization program of Buddhadev Bhattacharya meeting very
that became
stiff
Battle of Waterloo.
resistance, becoming a very stiff resistance. That's one set, quote unquote, factors which were either external or imposed from the top. And there is another set of reasons which you have alluded to here more eloquently than these two, that is the rot from within, down the ranks of the party, the muscle flexing, the fear, the lack of democratic space. So there are two clear, distinct baskets of reasons, so to say.
Exactly.
How do you weigh them relatively for the downfall?
I can give you two examples. One, I remember one person in our neighborhood. He was very close to the party, but he was not a party worker or anything. He was a real estate guy. So he used to tell us, why do you devote so much time in the party? Party is there for party is in power, we shall bathe in shower. That was his, the way of describing, and that was the rot within. A lot of people like that, they were close to the party just because of business deals and land deals and all. And many party leaders allegedly also got involved in those deals. And so, the idea, the ideology, the objective, everything became different. You can say a contrast to communism or socialism or whatever you say. The thinking was very capitalist in that way. And the second part, you are talking about the industrialization. Personally, I would say Buddhadev Bhattacharya's ideas and he tried to reform. That's my personal opinion. And Bengal as a society, even Mamata Banerjee today. It seems like she's more socialist or more leftist than the left. There are things you compare Calcutta to say Bangalore or Gurgaon or Bombay. You can see the difference when it comes to say infrastructure development, economy, industrialization, jobs and all. So maybe, I don't know whether it's about the Bengali psyche or about something to do with, all the political parties. Everyone seems to be on the left. And so Buddhadev tried to think differently, in my opinion. And that's what, it became a boomerang effect.
Do you foresee a revival of the left or the party left in Bengal?
The party needs a massive change. I don't know. Should they change their name? Should they replace all the old faces? Because, the first thing that people remember, there's a political theory about ideas and impressions. When you see, say, senior leaders, the first thing that you will remember is the follies of the left front. And
so it's a face fatigue.
You
see the same faces,
I think it's
same
a
name?
face fatigue. So
Yeah.
in this election, I remember, they decided a lot of candidates were below 40. But in the leadership also, the leadership is still very dogmatic. That's what I get to know from my sources in the left. In my opinion, all the old faces need to be replaced. Probably that's the quickest and the easiest, most way forward right now.
Thank you, Shurju. With this, we come to the end of our discussion here. Keep watching TV9 Digital for the latest news, views, and updates.